I'm Anil Kumar. Welcome to my series on strategic thinking. This question here is going to help many of our middle school students, that is grade 6 to 8, to understand and apply strategic thinking in problem solving. The question here is, let a and b be positive integers greater than 1. Integer b is greater than integer a. Integer b increased by 1 when multiplied by a gives 260. Find all possible values of a and b. So let's try to understand what the question here is. We need to find all possible values of a and b where a and b are positive integers greater than 1. We are also given that integer b increased by 1 when multiplied by a gives 260. Now this is very important sentence. So we could translate that into algebraic equation. Integer b increased by 1 means plus 1, b plus 1. When multiplied by a, the whole thing, that is integer b increased by 1 when times by a gives 260. So we got the statement from here. Now we also know that integer b is greater than integer a. So let me write down here that b is greater than a. First statement is, let a and b be positive integers greater than 1. So both are greater than 1. So we're not talking about 0 or negative integers, right? So b is greater than a and both are greater than 1, right? So that is the scenario. Now we need to find all possible values of a and b so that b increased by 1 times a is 260, correct? So that is what you need to solve. So if you look into the question and try to break it down into smaller parts, you may get something which makes more sense. Now, for example, here we have b plus 1 grade plus. So, so for example, here we have b plus 1 times a equals to 260. Now the second question is, how do I get all solutions? Right? Let's say all solutions. This is the critical thing. The best way to go about is prime factorization, right? So what we will do here is we'll find what numbers when multiplied give you 260. You are getting the idea. So we'll begin with the number 260, right? And we can figure out how can we get 260, correct? So there are a couple of ways. You could make a kind of rainbow, right? So let's try to make a rainbow. And we can also do prime factorization. So both techniques we can use. So let's do prime factorization first. So what we could do here is that we could get 260 by dividing by 2. So in that case we get 130 as 1. 2 times 130 is this. So we could have 2 times a is smaller, so 2 times 130, correct? Okay. We could divide this by 2 again. So if I divide this by 2 again, we get 65. Now for 65, ending with 5, I could divide this by 5, right? So 5 times 1 is 5, and then 15 you get by 13. So you get all the numbers which when multiplied can give you 260. Right? So this is one way of doing it. Or what you could also do is list all factors, right? So Factors of 260 could be 1 times 260, right? Always 1 times the number will give you 260. So this is the second way we are doing. We say 1 times 260 is 260. So these two numbers, 1 and 260, right? Then we have 2 times 130, as you can see here, right? We could do 4 times 65. Do you see? 4 times 65. We already have here as 5 times. So when I do 5 times, let me divide this by 5 to get 5 times what? So since there's lesser space here, so let me make another list. So what we got here are few numbers which could give us 260, but we could continue this list by saying 5 times what? So if I divide this 260 by 5, 5 times 5 is 25 and 2, right? So 52, that could be one number. Then 5 times 2 is 10, so we could do 10 times 26, right? And well, we already have 13 times 5 here giving 260, right? So let me squeeze in 13 times 20, right? 13 times 20 giving us 260. So well, there are so many different ways by combination of these we can get that product. Now this list can help you find A and B. So I hope till now you've understood that there are two different ways where we could just multiply, get all our factors. Now when you multiply two numbers to get a bigger number, we call these numbers as factors, correct? So another term to remember is these are called factors, and when you multiply, what you get is a product. So the idea is to get the product. Now to get the answer, what we can do here is kind of make a table now. So we know A is smaller, so we'll write down the values of A, and we'll write down the values of B plus 1, and then we'll get what B is. So what I'm going to do is make 3 different columns here. So we'll list out all possible A's, their combination with B plus 1, and then taking away one value, we could get the possible values of B, right? So if I start with 1 and 260, I get 1 here and 260 here. So 1 less than 260 is 259. Now look here, we are given here the condition that A and B are greater than 1, so this is not valid. Correct? So we'll kind of forget about this. If this condition was not there, then that could have been one of our solution, 1 and 259. Correct? Now let's take up the other solutions from our list. 2 times 260. So we have 2 times 130. So 2 times 130 is 260. 1 less is 129. So that is valid. Then we have 4 times 65. So we have 4 times 65. 1 less than 65 is 64. So that is also valid answer, right? Then we have 5 times 52. Always write smaller number for A since we know B is greater than A, correct? So 5 times 52 is again 260. 1 less than 52 is 51, correct? Then we have 10 times 26, and 1 less than 26 is 25. And lastly, we have 13 times 20 as 260. So 1 less than 20 is 19. So in this also you find B is greater than 13. So what we find here, that we need to find that B is greater than A and both are greater than 1. So we got so many solutions. Do you see that? So Now we can write down our answers, and the answers will be, let me use another ink to write down the answers. So we can write both A and B. So we could write in coordinate points like 2 for A and 129 for B. Then we have 4 and 64 as our solution. We have 5 and 51 as another solution. 10 and 25 another solution. And lastly, we have 13 and 19 as a solution. Now, when you follow this particular method, you ensure that you get all possible solutions. So we have 5 solutions for the given question, and that is how you find them. I hope you understand and appreciate the strategy. Feel free to write your comments, share your views, and if there are any doubts, I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. So this strategy is excellent for our grade 6 to 8 students, and also for students who are taking up SAT or similar exams at higher level. So sometimes even for those tests, such questions become very important. I hope you find it useful and interesting. Feel free to write your comments and share your views. If you really like and subscribe to my videos, that will be great. Thanks for watching and all the best.